And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us once again on the Allan Kardec Spirits Group of New Zealand studies meeting. We are here today, this beautiful 4th May. We have only one new today for you to make sure you have an amazing week, as always, and be very grateful for the week that's already been with you. And yeah, good evening, everyone who are here, the incarnated spirits. Welcome, everyone. And make sure you please turn off your phones. Have some water if you may need, and follow the exit sign if required. And Barbara, would you like to read for us, please?
Yes.
Thank
So,
you.
Living Spring, Chapter 12, Impediments. Let us set aside every impediment and let us run with perseverance the race before us. 4. Wherever you go, carrying the vessel of your faith and pouring it out in the form of good works, you will always encounter many impediments that make things difficult for you. Today, it is the failure at your attempts to progress. Tomorrow, it is the companion who fails you. The day after is the unfair persecution of your ideal. Then the day after that, it is the bitterness of bile coming from the lips of those who deserve your love. From time to time, you have to endure other people's comprehension. If every now and then you run up against 1,000 obstacles that induce you to inertia or negativity. Nevertheless, the journey ahead of us should unfold on the road of incessant good. What are we to do with people and circumstances that hinder and mobilize us? The apostle to the Gentiles is categorical in his response. Let us set aside every impediment. Setting difficulties aside, however, does not mean belittling other people's opinion when respectable, nor does it mean running from the daily struggle. It means respecting each other, each person, in whatever situation he or she may be. It means sharing the best angle in the good fight, with our best contribution to everyone's evolution. And in the innermost part of our heart, it means proceeding with Jesus today, tomorrow, and always, acting and helping, learning and loving until the divine light shine in our conscience as much as we are already inside it, albeit unconsciously.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. Let us pray now. Just relax, and you may close your eyes if you wish so. Mighty God, creator of the spirit and the matter, we come to you tonight asking for your permission, for your love, for your forgiveness, and for you to accept our gratitude for this day. We are here united again to conduct these studies. We ask the good spirits and the pure spirits to be with us in this moment and to give us permission to start another spirits group meeting. So be it. And we are on Gospel chapter 23, item 9. And our great assistant Carol will find this slide for us. Thank you. So we're on the chapter called Strange Morals. And the last meeting we had the lecture. So the one before that, we have read about the item 8, which will talk about living to the death, the care of burying the deaths. Is anyone remember what we chat about it? Anyone want to say anything? Anything that comes to your mind? No? Yeah. You're not watching. So this chapter is called Strange Morals. It relates to some parables and some lessons that could be misinterpreted. So it's a little tricky way of reading the words. That's why the chapter is called Strange Morals. On the previous meeting where we studied the gospel, we talked about making sure when this message was pretty much saying when someone fasts, you don't have to try to take care of them. They spiritual at will. The best thing you can do is pray for it, but it's a little bit of let it go of that. Of course, I just did a little resume on it. All right. Does anyone like to read?
You can read.
You wanna-
Yes, okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I can. I have not come to bring peace, but division. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to separate a man from his father, a daughter from her mother, and a daughter-in-law from her mother-in-law. And a man will have as enemies those of his own house. Matthew 10:34-36. I have come to cast fire upon the earth, and what do I desire except that it will be lit? I must be baptized with a baptism, and how I am in a hurry for it to be accomplished. Do you believe that I have come to bring peace to the earth? No, I assure you, but on the contrary, division. For from now on, if there are 5 persons in a home, they will be divided against one another. 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. The father will be divided from his son, and the son from his father, the mother from her daughter, and the daughter from her mother, the mother-in-law from her daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law from her mother-in-law. Lucas 12:49-53. Was Jesus the personification of tenderness and goodness? Jesus, who never ceased proclaiming love for one's neighbor, who could say, I have not come to bring peace but a sword. I have come to separate son from father, husband from wife. I have come to cast fire upon the earth. And what do I desire except that it will be lit? Are not such words in flagrant contradiction with his teachings? Is there not blasphemy in attributing to him the language of a bloody and ruinous conqueror? No, there is neither blasphemy nor contradiction in these words, because it was he himself who spoke them, and they bear witness to his great wisdom. It is solely the form, a bit ambiguous, that does not express his thought precisely, and this fact has given reason to misunderstandings as to their true meaning. Take literally, Taken literally, they would tend to transform his holy peacefully mission into a mission of subversion and discord, an absurd conclusion rejected by common sense, for Jesus would not have contradicted himself. See chapter 14, number 6.
Should we comment a little bit about it?
Um, Probably it's 12.
I think 12 it starts kind of a different,
Yeah.
different kind of subject. That's a very, very interesting one, isn't it?
Well, I think it's this chapter is, we talked a lot about how translations are changed so much. And we were just talking about this before we turned on the streaming, how we have different versions of even now the gospel. So it's translated in English, some have different chapters, and we were talking about how some of them have still really hard words to understand. Some of them have been simplified. In more translations that happen, lots of the meaning changes, or the focus of the person that's translating is different from the person who translated another version. So in this piece specifically, this so in Kardec's explanations on 11, they say that it's not that Jesus didn't say any of that, it just it's out of context. So you can't grasp the whole idea of what he meant by just reading those pieces or reading the piece that is actually written on Lucas and Matthew's book. So it makes no sense. But as we know, Jesus was very much about loving your neighbor. He would never say that he is on earth um, to bring down the sword and for the earth to be lit and for people to be separated and live in the same house, but not um, in separation in that sense sounds like hatred, right? So living in the same house and hating each other, it makes no sense. So clearly has to have another explanation for what he meant there or why he would have been saying those words, right? Yeah, should we go this way?
Nice. Peter? Barbara?
Like you were saying, it's better of understanding the words, not like exactly as they are, but trying to interpret what is in there, because it doesn't make sense at all if you follow exactly what they're saying. And I think it's very important to understand how to interpret that, understand the context and everything that is related to it. Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that caught my attention on the passages on the Bible is the word peace, because I think nowadays, even nowadays, most people imagine like peace or heaven, a place that you can rest forever, not doing anything. And when Jesus say, I sorry, if you can come back, I don't aim to bring peace or something like that.
Let's go.
The last paragraph there. Do you believe that I have come to bring peace to the earth? Is that it?
That was
Is this one the beginning? Is the second one?
Do you
Yeah.
not think that I have come to
I
bring peace
have
to
come
the
to
earth?
bring peace to the earth, and because that concept of peace, it's not what Jesus teach us. So he wants us to make the effort to overcome all the habits, to basically change who we were. I think that sword, when they say it's like to, I don't want to say murder our older self, but to not let our older self win, and making sure that we are always in constantly uh, fighting to overcome those difficulties, overcome everything that is against against God's will. And basically, sometimes I know that there is the problem with translation as well, but there is the problem of making those words something generic and accepted by the majority, and that's not the real meaning that Jesus wanted to bring.
Very nice. Tanya? Would you like to? I think it's very interesting. It definitely requires a lot of interpretation, this chapter. Emmanuel actually makes some comments regards peace, like you say, and there. It's a big difference between the human peace and the Jesus peace, right? The pure spirit peace. For us, what's word peace? When we say the word is not in war, what is the word doing? It's with nothing. It's just quiet. So that's definitely not the same peace as Jesus would have it. If you think about the elevated spirits, when we say they are in peace, they are working very, very hard. They are working a lot to help others, to help matter and spirit in all the ways that they can. So I believe what is related in there, do not think that I come to bring peace to earth yet. He didn't. He didn't come here to make everyone just relax and sit back. I guess this word that he's using it, as Emmanuel explains, is exactly what he said, is to cut the bad habits, is to cut the bad version, to cut the bad morals, and all those habits that we have been flourished from somewhere that we shouldn't have it. This kind of fight that is mentioned in there, I believe that's if we're gonna put on the context that's in there, with that sword, Jesus has started a battle when he was here to save humankind, to bring us to evolution, to make us evolve, to bring us to perfection, to make us better than we were before. I guess when we talk when we talk about that sword, this is how I interpret. He does mention about family, about daughter-in-law, and etc. I guess the reference that he's using, I think when the last one says chapter 14, right?
Yes,
Which is it's who is my mother and who is my brothers. In that chapter, they talk about it that Jesus it was inside this room and was full of people, and he just told everyone that here are my brothers and my sisters and my mothers. My brothers and my mothers, they're here right now. So he was trying to explain to those people that we are all related, that we are all, we have this kindship, that the spirit one, that's, as you guys know, his standards was always compassion, was always love. So that's what he's going to. And on my understanding, if you do have a brother that does not believe in anything or have very bad morals or uh, have very bad standards, of course you do what you can to help them, but that if you have to take a distance mentally to just carry on with your morals and intellectual because it's different than what that person chose to be, that's when you create a little separation, even that someone with your bloodline, which is something that we actually talked on the previous um, time that we studied the gospel. We talk about how we are related on this earth with your mom and your dad and your father and your siblings, but how in spirit you may not actually know that person. It could be a complete stranger that based on the life plan they come to be with you. So again, I guess there's a lot of interpretation on that, and the more we read, like now that I said that, if you read it again and then you start to think in a different way, I don't think definitely that's not like blasphemy on the way that was written, but I can see how that parable can create a lot of trouble, can motivate someone to actually use a sword in name of Jesus and create a war, which, as we know, history has showed us that happened a few times, and it still happens to these days, right? They interpret it the way they want to justify their actions. Like we mentioned here before, no matter how much you rearrange the arguments, it will never justify the facts. And when we read this, reminding ourselves that Jesus stands on this morals, on this standard of pure love and compassion towards everyone, and then we obviously can read that in a bit different way, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Emmanuel also mentioned about word peace in less evolved words like ours. It's just no turbulence, like you mentioned. People do think that going heaven is doing nothing, but if you don't do any good, you're also gonna have to pay for it. It's a favorite phrase that Andrea likes it. You're gonna be blamed for the good that you also haven't done. They had the opportunity of doing but didn't do it. Right? Anyone else wanna make any more comments?
Yeah, I think it's on the sentence that they repeats quite a bit about we separate would get the father will be divided from his son, and then he goes on saying, "Oh, the father will be separated from the son, husband will be separated from." Um, it just sounds quite a weird choice of words for it.
Yeah.
That first says divided, and then separate. That when you start reading it and trying to interpret it somehow, it almost feels like it's the wrong word or a word that now we use for something else, like divided. It would be splitting something, but not necessarily separating. And separating more in a sense of you are not the same person. We understand that even though you're born in the same family or you're being raised by this person, that you are not your father, that you are not your mother. That because just because you're married doesn't mean you are one. That you are individuals and should be considered separated. So I think the more you read, the more it sounds odd. Some of the choices of word, which
Yeah.
is then it starts making a bit more sense. Because I feel when we read the first time, I was even like, how do you interpret this? Like it makes absolutely no
Yeah.
sense. So yeah, like Tolan said, you need to read more than once.
It's a little keywords on there.
Yeah.
Translate this word for actually, being the head of the morals.
Yeah.
This division for unbelievers and believers, for example, people that don't believe, yeah, or atheists or whatever, and remove the mother and father and etc. If just between normal people, just people that are not related, then I guess it would be easy to understand. Yeah, it's a very interesting. I hope they understood that well 2,000 years ago, because we still had to read a few times.
I feel it was probably easier to understand 2,000 years ago. First, hearing from the source,
Yeah.
not from someone writing it down, would
And
help.
translate.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
second, because if it was I would imagine that Jesus speaks all the time in parables because it's easier to understand. So I doubt that he would be using very sophisticated words or saying, when I imagine, and we talk so much about how Spiritism needs to be accessible, because it's the whole idea of the doctrine is that it's supposed to embrace people, it's supposed to be comforting. So how can we be comforting if we are not accessible? If people come to a lecture or come to a study and they can't understand the words, or if the lecturer speaks so sophisticatedly that a person with a little less educated or that doesn't speak English so well, in our case, can't understand. Are we being inclusive? Are we being considerate? Are we being charitable, making sure that everyone that comes can actually follow what's going on? And I feel when I think about Jesus, I imagine someone that would speak really simply, that it would try to make sure that everyone that it was in the room would, that his teachings would be reachable to everyone that was in the room. Not, he was never teaching to highly educated people, to priests. He was not standing in a palace talking to people. He was out on the streets talking to anyone that would be able to listen to him. So I imagine that listening from him would be much easier, because he would try and simplify as much as possible for us who were incarnated at that time and needed so much information, could actually drink every sip, every drop of it,
Yeah.
and try and understand. The concept was already foreign enough without making it harder with words um, full sentences that people couldn't understand. So.
Yeah. On the book. Oh, sorry. No, you go.
Oh, yeah, just a little bit comment. Just to add, he doesn't always he didn't always talk in the simplest way possible, but to do, he was able to understand the people and the position of the people, and then talk in the way that they understood. So, for example, sometimes they will say a parable to everyone, and then within his circle, the apostles, he will explain the parable. Or sometimes they will talk with the I don't know the name in English, but the people that it was the racial the law. I don't know how to say in English. Yeah,
What is in
the
Portuguese?
Pharisees.
Yeah, Pharisee.
Yeah, the Pharisee, and then we would say talking about the Mosaic law and things like that, and quoting those laws to make his point. So I think he was able to understand the people, and then now I can talk deeper, or now I need to talk up with parables. Now I can explain those parables, and so on. So the way that we can get the most amount of knowledge from him.
No Republic, right?
Oh,
I think another interesting point also is because we read that twice. The second time was a bit easier, right? And I guess when you're in the presence of Jesus, I believe the vibration is a little bit different. On the book 2000 Years, that I have been reading, Emmanuel, I forgot his name, on there, explains how it is to be in the presence of Jesus and how he just doesn't have control of his body. So for us that just come here after having a day, we read this and it sounds very strange, but when you think about it on the vibration, on the moment where they have there, they probably have a better understanding of it. Another interesting thing to mention is that just going deep on the understanding of it about this sword and this we can use the word vessel just in comparison with the terminology that I've been using in the parable. Um, Following Jesus' path, it's not that easy. We do have to use a sword. We do have to cut these habits, these conflicts, these inclinations that we have, so we can move on. Even practicing the spiritism, being a spiritist, it follows the same way. It wasn't gonna be easy. It's not easy still, but still a fight that we didn't give up on it. Um, I did read, I can't quite remember, so if I say something wrong, please correct me. But Jesus had siblings, I think he says, and they were not very supported. I believe it was one called James, and it wasn't, I don't know, I'm just trying to remember something that I read a long time ago, and didn't quite believe in him. And I remember when I was reading that, I was like, oh, he had some close examples. If I'm saying something that does not make sense, disclaim, please. But I remember reading that he didn't have some close supports, one of his brothers or so. Um, and that's when talk about it. Who is my brother and who is my mother, who is my sister? So it's everyone who's around you, right? Cool.
Yeah, that parable that you're talking about that we read a few months ago, it was his mother and brother arrived
Yeah,
in
and
the
the
place
house.
that
Yeah,
he's in, and they announced like, "Oh, your mother and brother are here for you," and he says, "Oh, my
who's my
brothers
brother? Yeah,
yeah, and my mothers are all here, are already here." So yeah, I do think he had siblings or a sibling. But to be honest, I don't know by
I
heart
think I read it
if he
somewhere
was
else.
one,
Yeah,
the names or etc.
yeah. So that's chapter 14. Yeah, that's the one it mentions. Chapter 14, number 6. I think I read the 6, 7, 8, and it was about that. So nice. All right.
I'm sure Manny is gonna pop up a comment there so we can read. Enlighten me as about the sibling question.
We're waiting for you, Mani.
Google it first. Should I carry on?
Yes, please. Is
Every
sorry, is that
yeah, you
Yeah.
have to.
okay?
Every new idea encounters strong opposition, and there is not one that has not been implemented without struggle. Resistance in such cases is always in proportion to the importance of the results foreseen. For the greater the idea, the more numerous the interests it will ruffle. If it is not notoriously erroneous, if it is deemed inconsequential, no one will be concerned with it and will allow it to pass, knowing it has no viability. However, if it is true, if it sits on a solid base, if a future is foreseen for it, a secret presentiment warns in antagonists that it is a danger to them and to the order of things in whose maintenance they are interested. That is why they throw themselves against it and its adherents. The measure of the importance and results of a new idea, therefore, may be found in the excitement that its appearance causes, the violence of opposition it provokes, and the degree of persistence of the anger of its adversaries. Jesus came to proclaim a doctrine that would undermine the very base of the abuses upon which the Pharisees, scribes, and priests of his time were living. So they killed him, believing they could kill the idea by killing the man. But the idea survived. because it was true. It grew because it was in the designs of God, and upon leaving an obscure village in Judea, it planted its banner in the very capital of the pagan world, in the face of its most obstinate enemies, those who had the most interest in combating it because it subverted the secular beliefs they held until more out of self-interest than conviction. The most dreadful struggles awaited its apostles there. The victims were innumerable, but the idea grew every day and emerged triumphant because, as the truth, it rose above the predecessors.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was going to start talking about this before, and I thought I would wait for 12.
Yeah.
And that this is when I started reading about and how to interpret it. This is what I started to think of. And then when you get to 12, you read it's like, yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah.
That to me, when it talks about the sword and getting ready for a battle, getting ready for a fight, to me, this is what he was referring for. That this that we're doing, these ideas that we have, this that I'm here teaching you, it won't be easy. It is, I'm going to set the world on fire in the sense that this is going to spread through and it will change everything. And no change comes without, and like Eagle was saying, like, oh, I changed this big, it will cause a lot of resistance. It will cause a lot of, it will set the world on fire. It will make people angry. And there were numerous deaths, numerous people that got hurt, they lost everything because they believed in something bigger. And when we talk about revolution, this is how it starts. And for us here on Earth, it's still very physical and it gets quite literally violent a lot of the times to change things. Sometimes sometimes it is physical, sometimes it is actually becomes physically violent, and it does separate people momentarily, not on so much, not only on the physical sense that people people disincarnate or that people get separated because of a war, for example, but also on the moral side that separate mothers and fathers, because if we have very different beliefs, separate sons from their fathers, because if you have very different beliefs, it's really hard to continue living on the same way, right? I think we can compare this to many things that have been happening in the past few years. You know, we had elections that separated families. We had now a disease and the whole concept of the vaccine, and it's just this for sure. For all of us, we can all think of someone or someones that we had arguments with, that we question things because we talk to a few people, or that hopefully we help changing some people's minds or adding on onto this discussion. But it's very much a struggle and a word set on fire in our time, right? And it separates people that believe in certain things from people that don't, and obviously very different from what happened then, on a sense that we have lots of information and everything spreads so quickly. And at that time for Jesus, what he did without social media is incredible. That he managed to spread the message, and actually how he goes through talking about they killed him, but they never killed the message. You could see on the faces of those who made sure that he was dead. You could see on the hearts of those who believed in the message. So he was gone, but the idea was never gone. And it was too late, right? He was already here for long enough and made such a big mark that it didn't matter that he was gone. The idea I stayed, and more than 2,000 years later, we're still here talking about it. So
It's funny how we read about them living spring. Do you remember?
Mm.
At the very end, where it says about someone having a different opinion than you. You do not have to go crazy in that. You can live with it. Interesting, right? Anyone else? Keith? We can't. Any comments? No? Barbara?
No.
Andrews?
So I think if we are everyone, I think that's why if you reach perfection, you don't need to reincarnate anymore because that is not going to be done here.
Pointless,
So
yeah.
pointless. Yeah, you already reach everything. You already went all those conflicts, and you are able to pass, or you were able to clear those conflicts and move on. And the idea that we are here is because we are not perfect, and everyone will be on a specific level on the evolution scale. And if we have that knowledge in Spiritism, we need to be respectful with the other people's opinions, and you need to understand that if you know that they are wrong, probably they don't know yet. So it's with time. Probably it's not going to be on this incarnation. Probably it's going to be in the next one. So we have to be patient as well. And this happens in the family, like it was saying on the gospel. So sometimes you're going to be in a family that you're going to need someone to teach everyone. So, for example, if you have the opportunity and you have brothers, sisters, father, and mother, and you can help them, not like preaching the spiritism, but leading by your example. So I think that's what Jesus was saying. So it's going to be dividing a family because in a moment you're going to be following Jesus' teachings, and some people will follow you, but some it's not their time yet. So you have to respect them. You have to try the most, but you don't have to go against their free will. So you have to respect and move on with the ones that wants to follow you or do good the way that Jesus teaches us.
Nice. We did read not long ago that if a person goes to war, he comes back as hero, he just left his family. But why? That doesn't sound so good, so bad if you have to leave someone from your family that don't believe, right? To just follow. Just going back to what Carol says, yes, so, the change of habits will create new learnings, and you're just gonna change who you are. They're gonna create new conflicts. They're gonna create always a battle between your old version and your new version of yourself. That's why potentially why it's taking you so long. Another great point to understand why this battle for evolving, as we're talking about it, has not finished yet. It's because we're doing together. It's a collective growth, collective progress. We're not doing individually, right? So we do it together. Great. Any another comment? No? Thank you. Right. I believe we can move on to Spirit Book.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. And we are on Spirit Book, Chapter 13,
9.
or AKA 9. If your book is not divided in two parts, it will be Chapter 9. But if it's only one chapter, big chapter, as Manny just explained to us, it will be Chapter 13.
Is it
Either way, it's question 459, slide 5.
part 2?
Yeah. 5. Question 459, please.
Yeah.
Great. All right, so we're on question 459, and the previous chapter, we're in the same chapter, yeah, with the chapter things called Spiritual Intervention in the Incarnated World, correct? And anyone remember what we previously studied about it? Maybe you go back 2 questions just so we have a quick look.
I don't know anymore because the chapter
It was about
finishes.
probing human tropes. If there was a question about if the spirit sees everything, if you see your most hidden secrets, your thoughts, if the spirit can actually hear everything that you're thinking. And it was a question, the very interesting that says, what spirits think about us? And then the answer was depends on the spirit, right? If it's an evolved spirit, we'll just realize you're evolving. If it's a not so good spirit, it will just laugh and have fun playing with you and make you progress even slower. Anything that you remember from that?
I don't remember much, to be honest, from the reading that I left the other week.
It's all right. Sure, we're gonna read it again. All right.
Oh, I remember now because we just.
Because we just saw
went
that.
through it.
Great. All right. So we're question 459. Andrea, would you like to start, please?
Yes. The concealed influence of spirits on our thoughts and actions. 459. Do spirits have any influence on our thoughts and actions? Their influence on you in this regard is greater than you suppose, for very frequently it is they who guide you.
It's a question that we repeat all the time when you study, right? Would you like to read 460?
We have our own thoughts, plus other that are suggested to us. Your soul is a spirit who thinks by itself. Nevertheless, you must have noticed that many thoughts occur that you all at the same time with regard of the same subject, and that they frequently contradict one another. Well, they are always a combination of your own ideas and the other spirit's ideas. And this is what renders you uncertain. You have several ideas within your mind, battling it out with each other.
Cheddar, yeah. Thank you.
How can we distinguish between our own thoughts and those suggested to us? When a thought is suggested to you, it is like a voice speaking to you. Your own thoughts are usually those that occur to you at first impulse. Actually, you should not concern yourselves with such a distinction, and it is often more useful not even to know about it. You act more freely. If you make the right decision, you will act more willingly. If you make the wrong one, your responsibility will be greater.
Would you like to read?
462. Do individuals of intelligence and genius always draw their ideas from themselves? Their ideas sometimes arise from their own spirit, but frequently they are suggested to them by other spirits, who deem them capable of understanding them and worthy of transmitting them. When they cannot find ideas within themselves, they appeal for inspiration. They are making an invocation without even suspecting it. If it were useful for us to be able to distinguish between our own thoughts and those that are suggested to us, God would have given us the means to do so. Just as God has given us the means to distinguish between the day and night. But when a matter seems vague, it must be so for our own good.
Nice. Anyone like to comment so far? So I believe the 459, like I mentioned, is a question that we always mention when we study, right? That spirits influence us so much that sometimes they're the ones taking the decision, right? When it's for the good, obviously. Anyone else want to make any comment?
But this question you talk about is for very frequently it is they who guide you. This is good spirits Or
Interesting
they-
question. What do you think?
Well, I hope it's the big one.
It depends on you.
Because the big, I think yeah,
It's like the influence of people that you know. So we can say that people that you know, your friends, influence on you, on your decisions. They give them opinions. Is your friends good? So they may give good opinions. They may give you good comments. And if they not, isn't that a saying? You tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you, or something like that. I can't translate that.
I'll tell you who you are by your friends.
By your friends.
Yeah.
So who are your friends? Are they good spirits? Are they bad spirits? What's your vibration? What's your morals like? What's your everyday? What are you attracted to yourself? What are you attracted to be near you? What's your thoughts? We just read how spirits can read it, can understand everything. So the quality of that, it will reflect the quality of what's around you.
it's tricky, eh? Because they can change anytime.
Yeah.
And actually, the good spirits will always be with you, but depending on your level of vibration,
Mm,
they'll not be able to be in
Influence.
contact with you
Yeah.
because you're not be in the same level of vibration as they are. But they'll be there just waiting you to change your vibration.
Waiting a little space to jump
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
And again, it's a good thing that we do have these moments where we are not so perfect, because then we have opportunity of changing our habits. Remember this word that we just talked about it? Use it. Use that to cut the bad influence in your life. Right?
And I think it's also the other way around. You know, there are lots of spirits that are not so evolved and waiting also on that to get there on our vibration. So we're here sitting and paying attention and participating, and then suddenly we start thinking about, oh, what do I have to do tomorrow? And it's so easy to drift out, and then we're thinking about something that has nothing to do with the study, and then all those thoughts start springing up in our minds that we're like, oh, where did this come from? You know, there is an explanation for it. So we just start drifting away, and this with me happens sometimes often. I sometimes often makes no sense. Sometimes I have a thought that comes into my mind, and like I don't know, I see something, or I am watching something, or I'm reading something, or I see someone, and I think a thought comes into my mind, and I was like, oh, that's horrible. I shouldn't think like this. And I change so sometimes I think like, oh my God, there's someone pitching this idea on my mind, because it doesn't sound like me at all. So I think it's interesting when they tell, one of the questions that says like, oh, it doesn't matter if it is a thought that came from us or if it is a thought that was suggested, because we need to learn to own it and to be more earnest about what goes in our minds, right? So if you are thinking it, you are living it. So the fact that the thought comes on our minds and we say, oh, this is horrible, or I shouldn't think like this, um, it's already better than when the thought comes and you act on it and you think it's normal. Wow, this is actually what I think. This is actually it is what it is. You know, you can't tell that is a bad thought, or that is not so nice to think like that. So if we are trying to correct on that sense, we are already catching the bad thoughts, and being like, oh, I can't think like this, or I need to break this pattern, or this doesn't sound too good. It's already better than living that way, living on that vibration. And it's quite interesting talking about if we had to know the difference between the thoughts that are the suggestions from the spirits and the thoughts that are ours, we would have a way of knowing it. Like we can tell day and night. That was quite a nice comparison. There is a way of telling when is day, when is night, because we need it, but we don't need to differentiate the thoughts. So there's no point in spending time trying to figure it out what was suggested. And I think your explanation about comparison with our friends and the people that are around us, it's a really good one, because I think it's exactly how it goes. We can choose to listen to people's advice. We can choose to be surrounded by certain people. We can definitely select our group of friends, and even we're talking about family and separation, etc. We can choose the conversations that we have with our family. We can choose the way our relationship goes with our family, and the same way goes with our thoughts and the influence that the spirits have in our lives. They only have as much influence as we allow them to have, right? It's not like we're gonna go living on something or that we think it was instigated by spirits and be able to disincarnate and be like, oh, but it wasn't me, you know.
Yeah.
And they told me to do it, and I just followed it. We need to deal with the consequences of our acts, no matter where it came from. We still chose to live and live through, right, and follow through with it.
This sword that we have talked about it about being cutting. Of course, it's just cutting the moral side where you don't listen to someone who is not helping you evolve. But of course, it's not to create, a fight between one another. Andrea Luiz mentioned a lot between heaven and earth, and how we should never waste time trying to make peace. You may not see someone who you just had a bad time ever again, so don't let that grow. When you can make peace, just make peace. Just keep that in place. The analogy that I made with the friends, he actually extends a little bit more. I did that to my mom because she was asking me questions, and that's when the analogy came in my mind. She was having trouble studying. Every time she would go studying and read a book, some absolutely random thoughts will come on her mind, and she'll get very distracted. And then I told her, Mom, this is like high school. It's like when you're a child. You know when someone have a nickname for you, and when they say it, you definitely don't like it, so they're gonna say it a lot because it annoys you. So think it like this way. When you're trying to do something good, or your mind starts to go in a very south, in a very weird thinking, write that down, the subject, and after you study, you go back to it. It may be something in your life that you need to improve. It may be a topic in your mind that's easier for, let's say, these little cheeky spirits to attack, to trying to annoy you, because it's an area that you will be weak, or an area that you need to improve. It's an area that it is annoying you, and they know that because they hear all you're thinking. So of course they're gonna try to distract you by using that topic. So I told her, use them in your favor. They help me. Even them trying to annoy you, they help me. Or you having these bad thoughts and you just laugh, okay, then you pass it. They wasting their time. It's not gonna work. So remember that. That was again just a little knowledge that I did, and it actually helped me a lot when I was studying. Every time I had a very weird distraction, I say I'm gonna write that down. That's a subject that I need to improve. I need to know more about it or do something to change myself. And the next time they're trying to come in my mind, it's like, oh, I'm doing something about it. That doesn't annoy me anymore, right?
Yeah, and the previous questions were saying that, okay, on the previous questions, we saw that those spirits can read our thoughts, can know everything that we are, that we hide sometimes to the incarnated, but they know us as well or even more than we know ourselves sometimes. And they will prepare those traps for you to fall.
Yeah.
So that's why, now going back to Jesus, they say, I don't know in English, but it's orai vigiai. And we always have to remember that you have to pray and vigil, something like that.
Something like that.
Watch and pray.
Yeah, watch and pray. Yeah, that's the best
Vigil.
translation.
Watch out, probably.
Yeah, and that's it. So if we can always be connected with our protector spirit, he will protect us from those bad influences, and it's going to be less disturbing thoughts or distracting thoughts in our mind.
Translation is like something like that. It is very nice. Anyone else want to comment anything? No? Okay. Which one do we stop?
463 now.
I think we can read a couple more. Carol?
Where did we stop? Are we doing 6-3?
I think we're on 463, yeah. 463. It is sometimes say that the first impulse is always the best. Is it correct? Is this correct? It can be good or bad according to the nature of the incarnate spirit. It is always good for the ones who listens to good inspirations.
464. How can we tell if a suggested thought comes from a good or evil spirit? Study the matter. Good spirits give only good advice. It is your responsibility to make the distinction.
Stop here or continue reading?
Read.
465. For what purpose do imperfect spirits induce us to evil? To make you suffer as they themselves do. That is actually lessen their suffering? No, but they do so anyway, out of envy or seeing happier beings. What kind of suffering do they wish to inflict on us? Those that result from belonging to a lower order and from being far from God.
This is exactly what we just commented, isn't it? So it's just about the influence they have it. 465, it just comments about why they did it. Why would an imperfect spirit will trying to annoy you? Will trying to make you not succeed, right?
Because it's fun. They find it fun.
Because they find it fun. And they do not want you to be not suffering. They want you to suffer in a bad way. They want you to cause yourself affliction, which is not a good thing to do, right?
Yeah,
To create that storm in a glass of water.
Yeah, there are two levels. When we're studying the classification of spirits, there are ones that they really want you to make you suffer, and there are like the obsessive relationship with you, and there are the ones that just want you to see you fall down the street, or you say something wrong to a different person, so they just want to laugh. But there are those two kinds.
Yeah, so it's important. What is in English is zombeteiros, isn't it?
Yeah.
We said that before, and I just can't remember what it was because I was saying like,
Yeah,
oh, I
we
love
did.
this word and appears in
Yeah,
all the
tricksters,
Spiritist
actually.
literature, isn't it? Yeah, it's like trickers or something like that.
Tricksters, yeah.
Tricksters, isn't it?
I think it's something like that, yeah.
So then you have this sort of spirit that is just having, it just finds the fun and kind of leaves still on that with the small things that getting people's lives a little harder or finding it funny that this type of thing happens to people that are incarnated and lots of us listen to it a lot of the times or get to let them in and they have lots of chances of making making fools of ourselves and it just this is probably where those Brazilian folklore comes from, you know, because in my dad's side of the family, no one's a spiritist. So my grandfather, my grandmother, all of them would say is a sacira that I would do that. Sometimes like, oh, I got my thoughts all confused and I ended up saying the wrong thing or I lost my keys again, you know, so it's just so that's how I imagine those spirits. They just have it's just really to make a mess out of it and it's just really the whole chaos. It's their idea of fun. And then like Andrea was saying, another order of spirits that have something that connects them to us. So maybe past incarnations and some debts that we have with certain spirits that are around, and we'll take these opportunities to make us suffer, to take revenge, or to make sure life is not as easy as it could be because we don't deserve it. And probably lots of the time we don't, and we're just trying to do the best out of the situation. So that's why it's so important that we keep praying, we keep ourselves in a good vibration, because for sure all of us have lots of debt from previous lives and are here trying to fix some of it. That's why it's so important that we have our also before bedtime if we can go to sleep in a good vibration, so it's a big chance. We have lots of chances of actually patching things up with disincarnated spirits. And if we um, do our best with our vibration, with these opportunities while we're incarnated, that's lots there are lots of things that can be resolved before we disincarnate. We can't keep leaving everything for the next
For the next
incarnation, it's
Postpone,
too much to
yeah.
pay. The bill's getting too long. Putting on the tab.
And it's something that was commenting today, actually, yeah, is the habits, right? After you guys leave this meeting, you're all in an absolutely good vibration. You have, I hope, you have a good mindset that you're thinking positively and you attract that good thing. But how do you do that every day? Wake up in the morning, be grateful for things, pray. At the end of the day, do assessment. Think about it, what you've done, what you could have done better. So you slowly turn yourself into a habit, right? Do we have another one that's quite
Just the two classes of spirits. The first one
Oh,
is
yeah.
called impure spirits,
Oh,
and the one that we said that was trickster, it's called frivolous.
Frivolous,
there
yes.
we go. Yeah,
Mocking,
makes sense.
frivolous,
Yeah,
tricky,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, frivolous because it's really shallow, right? It's all of that. There has no real impact on people's lives, and it's just
No.
very quick, fun.
And we do have people like that as well, right?
True.
All sorts of spirits incarnated or disincarnated.
Yeah.
Well, for sure, we have moments of frivolous spirits also. Might not be all the time, but we have our moments. True. Who never laugh out of those, videos of people falling on YouTube and things like that? It's like that's a very frivolous moment,
I just watched dog videos and
Yeah.
cats. I don't watch that.
And you do find it funny
It's
when the dog
fascinating.
misses the treat and things like that. I'm sure you laugh at those too.
Should we carry on? Maybe another.
Yeah, we have another 5 minutes or so. Should be alright.
Yeah. Barbara.
What?
466. Would you like to read that first?
Yes. Why does God permit spirits to incite us to evil? Imperfect spirits are meant as instruments for testing the faith and constancy of individuals in the practice of the good. As a spirit, you must progress in the knowledge of the infinite, and you experience the trials of evil in order to arrive at the good. Our mission is to place you upon the upright path. When evil influences act on you, however, it is you yourself who call to them out of your desire for evil. Little evolved spirits come to help you in evil when you have the will to commit it. However, they cannot help you in evil except when you actually desire to indulge in it. If you are inclined to murder, very well, there will be a swarm of spirits who will maintain the thought in your mind. However, there will also be others who will try to influence you for good, and this is he equalizes the balance, leaving us as masters of yourself. It is thus that God leaves to your conscience the choice of the course we must follow and the freedom to wield to either of the opposing influences acting on us.
She missed one, that's why I asked her to read it again. Guilherme, do you want to read 467, please?
Can people avoid the influence of spirits who incite them to evil? Yes, because they only attach themselves to those who solicit them with their desire or attract them with their thoughts.
Do you, Richard?
Do the spirits whose influence is repelled by an individual will finally give you up on the attempt? What else could they do? When they have nothing to do, they leave it. Nevertheless, they attentively watch full of favorable, favorable
Favorable?
moment as the cat attentively watches the mouse.
See how I was connect and mentioned cat videos and it was done. That complements a lot what we just discussed, right? Any
I really like the question 466
for 6 6, yeah.
because we
Why
have
does God permit?
yeah, because we have the first question that we read about the spirits that is going to guide us, and then we have a question on the law of freedom that says that we have free will, otherwise we will be as machines.
Yeah.
And then which one is the correct one? So the spirit is going to guide us all the time, or we'll have the free will to choose everything. And then this question is saying that we have both sides. So if there is evil spirits talking in our ear, on the right ear, there will be some good spirits saying the same things or the opposite things on our left ear, and then we have to decide. So if we are connected with the evil spirits, we'll go with them, and if you are with the good spirits, we're going to be likely choosing to do the things that the good spirits is guiding us to do. And that's why I like this question, because it combines those two ideas and making sure that, okay, that's why God permit the evil spirits to try to remove us from the right path.
It wouldn't be fair if we could only hear the little angel, right?
Yeah.
Not the little devil on your shoulder.
It's like Mickey Mouse.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
You always have you listen to the one you prefer.
Yeah, I think it's just again, God did created the whole world in the perfect state, right? So this is God letting the world take its course, and it's your free will talking. You have the choice. You have the freedom of making a choice here, and choose to listen who you think or what you think is the best option for yourself. So it wouldn't be fair if God actually allowed us only to listen to one side of it. That is not free will, right? This is a very wrong idea of what is best for someone. You choosing for them. What is best for everyone is giving the person options, right?
Interesting to also mention the last one about whose influence is repelled by an individual or finally give up on their attempts, right? And then the answer is, what else could they do, right? If there's nothing else to do. Great. Anything else? Anyone want to add? No? Everyone nice and happy? Great. Thanks, Carol. All right. Now, Carol will give us a lovely collective prayer and also the final prayer, please. And I guess you like some music, not very loud.
All right, thank you everyone. We're gonna do our collective vibration tonight. So at home or here together, we sit now in a comfortable position. And tonight, together in spirit, all of us incarnated or disincarnated, are going to focus on this moment and try not to listen to the voices in our head, to the suggestions that try to drift us away from this moment, including the suggestions of our own mind. Trying to focus on something can always be really hard. So we try at this moment to listen to the music or to listen to the sound of my voice. We focus and hang in every word, listening to not only how it sounds, but also listening to what it means, feeling all the words, all the sounds coming in, not only through our ears for us incarnated, but also we can imagine that these words, that is thoughts, are also embracing us, coming to our bodies, coming to our spirits in the shape of light that might have a color, that might have a certain look. We use our imagination to portray this energy that is coming now from all of us, here incarnated or disincarnated, and it's being spread through the room, being observed by our pores, being observed by our spirits, by our souls. We all now breathe in all this great energy, this powerful force that we ourselves generated. And we know now that we are capable of generating and inhaling and embracing calmness, forgiveness, love. And as we feed ourselves and our thoughts of this calmness, of this peace, in this active meditation, we start imagining someone or more than one person that is in need of this great energy. Someone that we know, or even someone that we don't know. We start making our best effort to send this energy, to send this colorful, powerful feeling that we now have inside of us towards this people or this person. We imagine them being engulfed by this color, being embraced by this feeling of peace, incarnated or disincarnated. This spirit will hopefully receive our highest vibrations, and we will know that we now are thinking of them, that we are imagining and remembering that everyone deserves peace. Every single spirit on earth, doesn't matter how evolved, deserves our love and forgiveness, deserves to feel peace, to feel love, to feel loved. That this spirit or those spirits may also be remembered, reminded that they are never alone, that this love, this forgiveness, this source of charity always comes from God. This powerful force that reigns the universe and gives us all the choices. All the opportunities are available to us, and we just need to be wise enough to see them. We just need to be patient enough to wait for them. We just need to be trustworthy enough to seize them. with that thought, we thank you, God, for all the opportunities that we all have on our daily lives, incarnated or disincarnated. We keep living in this universe, in this perfect universe that you created. We are also thankful for our past, which taught us everything we know today. We are thankful for the lessons, for the learnings. We also thank you, God, for our present, which brings us so much joy if we know where to look for. We thank you for this present, that it is being here today, that it is being here studying together, that it is finding each other here in New Zealand, incarnated or disincarnated. We are thankful for each other, for those brothers and sisters studying towards a common goal. We thank you, God, for the things that haven't happened yet. We thank you for the future, for the opportunity of knowing that no matter what happens in the present, there will be a future. That life, no matter what happens, always goes on. That we are created infinite spirits. And that we will have the chance of carry on living and correcting our mistakes of today. That we may seize not just the present, but also this future that will soon become past. We thank you, friendly spirits, for your guidance tonight and always here in the Spiritist group and on the course of our incarnated lives. We ask for your forgiveness when we are not so open to listen to you. And we thank you for your patience on every giving upon us. We ask God, our Father, Jesus, our brother, that you bless those who couldn't be here tonight, incarnated or disincarnated, that they may feel also this great vibration and also feel in their hearts the peace that we do when we leave here today, a little better than we came, a little lighter than we entered. Thank you, and so be it.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Incarnated, disincarnate. Thank you, everyone who is online. And great to have you here again. And see you next week. Thank you.